Now I take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Shripad Vaidya. He is currently the global head of banking domain and competency Exaware Technologies. He is a HCA, fellow chartered accountant in India, and also a certified international payment systems professional, which is normally called as CIPSP. He was a consulting practice director with Oracle, hardly a week back or 10 days, only changed the job from Oracle to Exaware. And he has got 30 years of experience in banking and finance field. His industry experience includes various top positions such as consulting director, vice president, global domain lead in global organization in various organizations like Oracle, Tata Consultancy Service, Polaris Software, AF Ferguson's, Albright Wilson UK Limited. The very interesting part is he's the chief judge panelist for leading US-based magazine called Global Finance for evaluating digital banking across the globe is in 100+ countries. A very prestigious sort of panel in the normal digital world. He is one of the bestseller author on the Amazon for the book on a quick view of global digital banking in just 30 minutes. And that's what I'm going to give you, Mr. Shripad Vaidya, for the day today. He's a top trainer at Udemy for the digital course Innovations of Digital Banking and a Global View, which has a course participant across 110 countries. Okay. He's achieved the Excellence Plus Award among 150+ participants among 12 global countries. Also, Tata Consultancy honored him as a TCS gem. So we are rarely getting this kind of opportunity to the listens from one of the great knowledge speakers, like the way we had with the last two speakers. May I request our distinguished Mr. Shripad Vaidya to share his experience on the seminar theme with our students. Over to you, Shripad. Balaya.
Thank you, Bala.
Shripad sir, you'll have to allow me to intervene. Bala sir, you missed one very important thing this morning when you were working on the technical glitches. He is an alma mater of Lala Lajpatrai College, sir. 85 back.
Yeah. He's true. I wanted to say at my vote of thanks, yes. He's a proud alumni of from Lala Lajpatrai College of Commerce. Yes. Welcome back to the institution. Only thing in online mode. Yeah. Over to you, Shripad.
So it's my privilege, whenever I get an invitation from Bala or anyone in terms of Lala Lajpatrai College, I jump for joy and tell my friends, hey, I'm in my own college. So anyway, and that's a real privilege to speak in my own college, basically. I'm audible, right? I mean, my voice is clear. Is it fine?
Yeah, very clear. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. Now the second question that I will have is how much time I have on the board, because see, the point is we are close to lunch. I'm always really afraid of taking the sessions close to lunch, either one way or another, after lunch, or in either case these are very difficult times. But how much time I have got, Mr. Bala?
Shripad, you take 30 minutes and go ahead. Okay. Yeah. Thank you see. So I'm going to request my students, to have a delayed lunch. I'm just okay. But anyway, but it's fine. The way the last two sessions went, and I'm sure with your session, students will be very happy. I'm getting all the emoticons coming out. Carry on, Shripad.
Fantastic. So that's going to be a bigger challenge to hold them up in their hunger. Is my lecture driving them to hunger, or hunger is driving them to my lecture? So that's something that is very important. Now, before I start the session,
just now, Bhaskar sir talked about the delivery time. So, Shripad, you asked the question. Thanks a lot. Yeah, bye.
Okay.
Carry on.
Now, I'll first. Can I share my screen, and then I'll.
You can. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Just as I'm sharing my screen, and let me know whether my voice is audible as well as my.
It's all fine. Looks fine. Yeah, fine.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Fantastic. So thank you so much. And I know that it's only half an hour which is there, and it's within the hunger that I have to ensure that you guys have some understanding of whatever. Believe me, even if you know the terms, it will be very useful on all your lifetime, because digital is becoming the new generation theme everywhere. Now, so from the Lala Lajpatrai colleges of Haji Ali environment and the race course and all that, great time that you had on the CFS, now bring back to the memories. And from there, now I'm coming to the digital innovation side. And I'm so got a privilege to meet a lot of my old colleagues like senior Mr. Bhaskar, and I heard one of the very important thing that he said also, Mr. Damli said, is about today it is becoming a sailor based or a buyer's organization from a sailor's organization. So say 30-40 years back it was like sailor, I'm selling something. Now it's like, hey, I'm buying. And that is very important. When I'm talking about all this, just remember that this point is very important, that it's a buyer's market, not a seller's market, whether it is or a bank or anything else. So with that, I just wanted to start the session. So before that, as a banker, right now I'm not giving sessions on what is supply chain. Now there are experts who already talked about it. I'm saying what is a banker going to do. Also, I'm not telling about what are the various finances, borrowing and lending given by terms of various finances. What I'm saying, how are they utilizing digital world so as to impress their customer, who are the buyers and are the supply chain procurers or whatever, the constituents of the supply chain. So before I start, and anytime if you feel that I'm going too fast, too slow, or whatever, just stop me. If you have a question, to stop me, because most of the times when there is a screen, then I have a habit of talking and going, please interrupt in case that is the case. Now, basically, what I also, so this we are in a full digital divide, if you may. What is digital divide? Now, somewhere on the left side, I've talked about 1981 to 1997 and 1998 to 2015. All the people who are born between this period. So I'm not asking you what is your age. Just see which category that you belong to. This is Salesforce definition. But this is either you're a millennial or a Gen Z, as they say. And believe me, we are from the earlier generation A, generation Y, whatever. So we never had a digital spoon in our mouth, but you guys have a digital spoon in your mouth. But there are post 2015 generation Alpha is people who are born with a digital spoon in their mouth, basically, So that planet is a full digital device. Somebody who understands digital, somebody who doesn't understand digital or cannot use it. So there are a lot of friends of mine who says, oh, I cannot book Uber taxi of my age. A lot of people cannot do that. Just because they say, oh, my son does it, my nephew does it, I have never tried it, because we are not born with that kind of digital spoon. But the world has changed. World doesn't give us a chance to us anymore. So there is a have not and a have community. What is have not and what is have community is like, I'm digitally rich, which you guys are. Most of you guys are the millennials or Gen Z or whatever. And have not is we are not. So a difference is between a retail bank and a corporate bank. And I'm saying supply chain as a corporate bank because most of the time supply chain is a very important constituent of a corporate banking. And basically there is a huge digital divide that the retail banking has much gone ahead in digitally, and the reason is simple. Retail banking, you guys are there, you guys are demanding, you guys don't want to go to stand in the line for electricity, payment of electricity, where your fathers or your parents were, and you want to sit in your home and pay the money. And that because of you, you and me as a customer, the digitally divide has happened where retail banking has moved ahead. So what are the key things? This is very quickly taking the difference between these two. Retail banking has almost become comprehensively digital. Now there are mobile only banks which have come up, whereas in the corporate banking or in supply chain banking environment, that's not so much. B2B is little more cautious, whereas B2C is more aggressive because you guys are demanding for it. I'm saying you guys because you guys are the future. You are defining, and we were telling for the last 10-15 years, when this generation comes up, they are going to take the entire reins, and they will have a different habit. They will never visit a branch, they will never go to meet an officer, they will never stand in any queue. They will just by a click of a button, they'll do all this. So this is where there's a digital divide, and because of that, you guys have a great customer experience. You expect a great customer experience in your hand, whereas corporate banking is little more conservative, full of people, oldies like us, who are driving that. At the same time, we are more careful because it's not about the fancy. There has to be security also. So we are more cautious. So this is just a very small comparison I wanted to do. Now let's enter into supply chain environment in a corporate banking environment. When the supply chain happens, what is a banker does? So this is just a picture. I will not touch anything on this, just to say it looks complicated. Plan, source, make, deliver, and buy. But there's a lot of sessions done earlier by two eminent speakers. I'll not touch on that. What important point I want to drive is there's this picture. Now before I go, just I want to check. Can you guys see the picture of the elephants going in a row or in a line? Can you guys see? Just anyone can tell me?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, we could see. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Bala, before that, I got digital answers. I can imagine the way people are already digitally savvy, then I can imagine that, so I already got an answer, right? So, okay, so this picture indicates that the strength of a team depends on the weakest of the link, which means that if you are a team, whether you're team Lala, or whether you're team in Tata or whatever you're in the team, whichever organization you join, ensure that the weakest of the link is helped, and that is what the supply chain is all about. And and the banker always looks at who is the strongest man, if he's the strongest. For example, if I am kind of supplying to Tata Group, which is strongest, for example, then I will give the best of the deals to to all his suppliers, basically. And that is where the banking depends on. So how does banking depend on? The confidence of a banker depends on the strength of the stakeholders, which means if in a supply chain, if I have to finance somebody, then I need to see who's the kind of the principal there. Is it Cipla, Coca-Cola, Maruti, Suzuki, Tata Steel, the name? Because if they have given the purchase order to the supplier, which means there is a credibility. They are not going to falsify. They are going to pay as long as they've said yes, I like it. I've taken the delivery, or there is an invoice. Once they say that, so bankers are actually running after all these kind of large banks, and that is what I wanted to show it to you. This is the tug of war. What is the tug of war? That everybody, let's say, there are 5 banks and all are doing corporate banking and supply chain banking. They all will be running after a corporate saying, hey, we can finance all your suppliers. We can finance you. We can finance the entire supply chain. But remember, the customer is also very smart today. He says, okay, tell me what you have. Then they say, oh, we have a digital innovation. So tell me what the digital innovation is all about. So henceforth, what I'm going to talk about are going to be very useful for all of your lifetime. Some of these terms, just remember all this term. So I'm going to cover all these blockchains and APIs and robotic and all that. I myself is not a technologist, but by the grace of God or whatever, I've been able to now speak on the digital usage. I'm not a techie. I don't code anything, but actually I know how to use the things in the business. So that's what I keep talking about. So we'll talk on this topic today. You can continue your lunch if you're doing it. You can have your snacks. Enjoy that. Don't be formal. Just keep going. Understand that. Yeah. So today what we are talking about is previous generation portals 360. Okay, so portals is the first thing. Portals is a typical website that you get 360-degree view, self-assisted channels, ERP integration, auto reconciliation, WAM, virtual account management. Now there'll be some interesting terms like open banking API, blockchain, chatbot, AI, ML, RPA, IoT, AR, VR, etc., etc. So now let's me start with few things on your plate. Basically, while your plate is full with your lunch or whatever, this is the thing that you have. So who's the target customer of a bank? The target customer of a bank is a CFO and all his team. So the entire finance team who are taking loans, or the supply chain is taking the loans, are the typical target customer. So what is his expectation? What did this change in the in the Uber era? What has changed? This is a current generation CA4 dashboard. If you can see the CA4 dashboard, just digitally tell me whether you can see this CA4 dashboard, anybody, and then we'll just I'll just move it. Yes, thank you so much, Switi. So CA4 dashboard, this is what it looks like in 2021. Whereas in 2000, it was not as crisp as this. Today, a CFO can look at the revenue across the board, gross profit, EBITDA, EBITDA, admin expenses, inventory asset, everything at a one view. And that's a portal view or a dashboard view or a 360 degrees view. He can see that. I'm not talking about what bankers are giving, by the way. I'm saying what is CFO looking at his screens today. When you can see this, he can press any of its button and goes deep down, deep down, deep down, and they can see that what he looks for. If this is the way he's looking at his own organization on his work, then bankers have to also become that much savvy and smart. That's why we're talking smart supply chain. Now, just to bear with us, this is the previous generation portal. So I've now entered into the next slide, which is previous generation portals. And that previous generation portals, and I don't want to name which bank or whatever, but many banks in India are still into this level. Unfortunately so, because it takes a lot of time for changing their mindset. What is it not giving? I can tell you, it is not a 360-degree view. It is saying that I have everything. It's like I can do this too, I can do that too, and I provide corporate banking, I provide retail banking, everything. Under the sun, I provide everything. That is changing. So how it is changing? Now portals are becoming 360-degree view. You saw the CFO's view. Now let's look at what banks are giving to the CFO and his team, the kind of 360-degree view. In fact, this view is about tell me what you want in the supply chain. For example, what is supply chain after all? You have, let's say, Maruti Industries, right? One, who is a large corporate who's buying from say 500 different vendors. If they're buying from 500 different vendors, then all of that might get a finance from the bank, or Maruti might get a finance from the bank, but you need to onboard that vendor. You need to call that vendor as your own customer, then only he gets a loan. And he gets a loan because you have raised a PO, Maruti has raised a PO, there's a credibility on the PO. So all of this information, in the earlier generation, you had to go down to navigation number 1, navigation number 2, navigation number 3, and then you find some query and report and then generate all these queries. No way. Now it is all brush your own paints, means all these are called that widgets, widgets. Remember this, the widgets. And these widgets, and maybe you guys are already aware. Why am I telling this? You guys are already smart, you guys know it, but if you haven't heard it, just hear it from me now. And then, so whether you are supply chain vendors or your distributors, I need to know what is my list of the supply chain. I need to know what are the payment which are nearing due status, which I need to do. Which are my POs which I have financed. So whether it is a static data or a dynamic data, everything should be available on the press of my button on a widget view, and I can actually drive that. Actually, I can draw this, means I can pull and plug, pick and plug and put it inside. This is, if you are in a position to do, then you are a banker who's really providing a digital view. Not that I have this offering and that offering and I can give you good financing. Everybody is good financing, but how are you servicing me in a manner that it becomes so much palatable and good for me, the get great customer experiences? What are my next tasks for 5 days? I can do any warning and notification. Everything is told to you on the screen. You can pull and plug. So you're painting in your brush. So not only that it is available as a widget, but you can also define what exactly you want on the portal. That is what is changing. One more important thing, and I'm touching the next topic. I'm going a little faster just because the paucity of the time. If you want to interrupt me, stop me. My request, whenever I change the slide, just digitally web me so that I understand. I'll change the slide on the supplier and a vendor. What is supplier and a vendor means? If there are 500 vendors or the suppliers or the distributors, all of those guys will get a loan. So can you guys see my screen? Just digitally web, if you can see the screen on suppliers and vendors. Okay, suppliers and vendors, and I'm calling this as a self-assisted portal, frictionless customer onboarding, which means if it took 2 months in 2000 to onboard a new customer, onboard a new vendor, now it is in 2010. If it took 1 day, now it is taking few minutes or few seconds. Because remember, when you're onboarding a new customer and he is going to be your borrower, then not only that you have to look for his know your customer KYC, his anti-money laundering cases, but also look at what is his CIBIL score or experience score or CRISIL rating. Everything you have to do in few seconds, and that's called frictionless onboarding. Now, otherwise, in my generation, when you had to open a bank account, you had to go through hell, and as much faster as possible, within a day's time, within some more minutes time, onboard your articles and minutes of association, which is very difficult for a corporate banking, even for a small customer to do it, because if he's a private limited company, and that is how much fast that you're doing digitally, that is making a difference. I'm moving to the next slide, which is about ERP integration with banking. Let me know if you can see this slide, where I'm talking about how banks are integrated. Can you guys see my slide? Thank you so much for all the guys saying that. Yeah, ERP integration, you know what is ERP, all the systems which are there in the side of the supplier or a vendor or a distributor. That there is ERP. Most of the people have, if they're Marutis or Tatas or Coca-Colas or whatever, banks are now directly integrating using the WAN, LAN, or whatever that method, and we'll see what exactly they use. And they're integrating so that the reports can be immediately made, whether it invoices, they have all the data. By the way, banks now have all the data, which invoices you're raising, what is a purchase order, when the payment was done, what is the loan taken, every data now their banks are maintaining. And there is an ERP integration happening because now they can directly talk to the principals, directly talk to the large company, directly online dynamic time, and as much you're in a position to do. Now don't ask me which bank in India is as matured, we'll talk on that separately, but just remove all that in your mind. Just think that this is what the banks have started offering internationally. Yeah, some banks may not have, some banks have, we'll talk on that later, but this is what I'm talking of, the idealistic situation. Okay, there's something called as reconciliation. You must have heard of bank reconciliation statement in many of your academics, but this is a reconciliation between suppliers and vendors and the company, and that is where they are not in a position to match. Hey, I raised the invoice, I paid the money, but it's not there. Now they come to bank and they start asking questions between those two companies. Banks are saying, don't worry, I know what is left hand side, I know what is the right hand side, and I am in a position to give that kind of recon to you. So that kind of recons, the reconciliation engines are being provided by the bank. The next slide, and this is where a very dynamic slide or important slide, which is not there much in the supply chain, but slowly supply chain is now using it. Can you guys see VAM, virtual account opening, as a slide? Let me know when you can see this. Here we are talking about, thank you. So here we're talking about is, supposing I'm Pepsi organization in US and I have distributors across all the world, but that one distributor called XYZ Company Limited has got a head office in, let's say, in Singapore, and everywhere in the world it's got its offices, and I'm doing distributing Pepsi, for example. In that case, I might have only one bank account where you need to pay, but each country of that particular XYZ corporation might need a separate banking or separate transaction or a flow. That is where you have this virtual bank account created, and that is how the banks have started giving not the real account, but there can be real account based on the regulations. But if they want a virtual account, that is also can be possible. If anybody has a query, please ask me, because I heard somebody saying something. If you want to ask me, do ask me question. Yeah. Can I move ahead now to the next one? Okay, can you guys see open banking API? Fantastic. This is one of the very, very important word. Please note down, please remember, this is going to be very useful all your lifetime, because this is the world of open API. Now, what is open APIs? APIs is application program interface. Somebody who are engineers within you will note very fast. Open banking is what? Open platform. What does it do? What does you do is like, you talk to, so let's say Uber. Uber is a taxi service, right? Uber is a taxi service. Now, Uber also runs a Jeep on the GPS, for example. That GPS is provided by the Google. But remember, all that is happening on the open, dynamic, real time. And because of the APIs, there are application program interface. And this is the biggest revolution happening in the whole world, not only the banking, but everywhere. Supply chains, you don't need to pass on any files anymore, as long as it is secured and authorized. This is the biggest achievement or biggest revolution which is happening. Remember that. And this is going to make a lot of difference, because you can talk to each other as long as they're authorized and as long as it's secured. You can actually know all this information on a tip of your finger. This is going to be very important for your career in fact coming few years, because Europe is doing a lot of revolution in open APIs, and US is a little behind on that, but India is already also catching the curve. Right? And then supply chain is going to be useful. The next topic I'm touching is about blockchain. You guys already know what is blockchain. Many guys will say, oh, blockchain means Bitcoin, which may not be. Blockchain is also a concept where previously, if I had to do a fund transfer from US to India, it might take 30 days, 25 days, 15 days, depend on which bank I'm taking, and all kinds of charges. But if you have a blockchain environment, if the banks talk to each other in a secure net of a blockchain as a block, the entire money can transfer in just less than 1 day, less than few minutes, less than few seconds. That is the relevance of blockchain. And you can see here, there is an SBI group. Can you guys see blockchain as a portal, which is shown here? Yeah. Thank you so much. So this SBI group is Japan group, not State Bank of India. but they have now started investing in a supply chain. So the internationally, there's a lot of things are happening in the blockchain. And each of these is a topic, by the way. Each of these is a topic. I'm just brushing all this because of the time, but each of these is topic on its own. The next important, you guys already know what is chatbot, but there can be different ways in which the chatbots are given. It's not only with the mobile, but static chatbot and a dynamic data, static data and a dynamic data. What is static data? Okay, what are my banking product is a static data, and what is a dynamic data? Give my account balance is a dynamic data. But it's becoming much more intelligent. All the reports that used to do generate previously, now you can see in a dynamic time, but there are a lot of engines are running behind the scene. For example, AI, ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data, big data, content manager, a lot of these are working together, and you can see this. So that is where banks are going to this chatbot, which are progressively taking a place. I'm into AI and machine learning. You guys already must have heard of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Can you guys see the screen which says artificial intelligence? Thank you. Artificial intelligence, machine learning. What does it do? So Gary Kasparov was beaten by IBM in a game of a chess in 1997. And then, Gary Kasparov beat IBM in 1997. And then IBM beat next year in 1998 using artificial intelligence. Because they're playing a game of a chess, you have to find out what are the trends and the patterns and all that. But they were researching for 8 long years. What is Gary Kasparov really doing in chess? Now, Alpha Google and some of the new things are saying that we can beat any player in the world just in 4 hours time, because now they can find out the patterns of how the artificial intelligence can come. So in a supply chain environment also, the entire credit assessment of all the new suppliers or a distributor can be done just like this on a click of a button and a pressing of a coin or tossing of a coin. You can do that because, and mind you, banks are talking to at least 40-50 different organizations when they are talking, saying that on an online environment, I'm onboarding a customer and doing all his due diligence. I'm not saying all banks are doing it. Slowly, incrementally, they're increasing the time, they're reducing the speed, and onboarding happening because they've used a lot of intelligence, social media, kind of experience kind of thing, or your CRISIL ratings and all that. All that is incorporated. Fraud. One of the large company in India is facing this in a supply chain environment. They're not doing good, and the end suppliers are making the advantage of that. They're sending suppliers invoices to the banks. Banks are funding, and later on they're finding, oh, there is no PO for it or something like that, because they're not digital savvy. But AI and ML can find out. And I'm talking a real case. I was just talking to a banker yesterday. So this is where it is. Machine learning is giving a lot of that automated environment using the patterns, trends, and volumes. RPA. What is RPA? Robotic process automation. It's like a Maruti Suzuki or any other car manufacturing, automatically driving, completely developing the entire car in 12 hours, like that. The entire banking flow of credit, for example, entire banking flow of onboarding a customer, credit analysis, payment, everything is now getting from the robotic process automation. So they're providing robotics. So everything is done by the robots, and the flows are coming up there. This is what is happening in the international market. One of the very important thing, and there are only 2-3 slides left out now. One of the important thing is like wholesale floor financing. So assuming this is a Maruti Corporation, or let's say Bajaj Corporation, or whatever, they have this distributor. Now distributor want to have some 100 cars from Bajaj or Maruti, and Maruti says, oh, you pay money and all this, take away. So the bank or a financer comes and says, doesn't matter. I will give you on a lease. You don't have to own it. I'm owning it. But they can be on a lease. Now, when they give on a lease, the entire responsibility of the ownership remains with the bank. So there are terms and conditions. There's how many times, how many hours in a day it was used, how many jurisdiction, how much it is traveled, whether the car is in a condition. Believe me, there's something called as an Internet of Things, IoT. What is IoT? It's a digital to digital device. For example, a driverless car, the car directly going to the petrol station or gas station and filling the gas, basically, or a petrol. So that is the kind of thing which is device to device connectivity. A banker sitting in his office can now see which road he is traveling, where is he going, whether he's violating any terms and condition of the lease that you're doing. You can imagine the kind of the strength of the supply chain, because he's been funded by him, because he's the distributor of Maruti. He's funded. because of that credit worthiness, but he's not doing good and he's being evaluated by Maruti sitting on their doorsteps. Yeah. So that is where the IoT, remember this is very important. I'm sure you guys, most of these guys are expert in this, and maybe I can learn a lot, but some of these people who have not heard, not having the intricacies, just note down all of these terms are going to be very useful in your lifetime. Yeah. Then AR, VR, and this is the, I guess it's the last but one topic, AR, VR. What is AR, VR? Simple things. Pokemon, everybody knows what is Pokemon. All of you must have run in your childhood times or your college times or whatever times, gone out of your home, see, no, there is a Pokemon, okay, I got the points and all that. I never did it, but I know all my nephews and nieces were running after it, right? Now, how does Pokemon help here? Very important. The kind of technology, it is called augmented reality or a virtual reality. What is the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality? Augmented reality is where you're augmenting as, so you and Pokemon are talking to each other. The physical and the machines are two different individuals or objects coming together. That's called augmented reality. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality is you are doing a gaming, you are just sitting in a game and they're killing so many people, and that's called virtual reality. Okay, and they say, okay, I'm a terrorist. Hey guys, why are you terrorists? No, because that game says, or there's a PUBG game which you're playing and you're actually not yourself but you're somebody else, and that is called VR. So why are these helping? How is it helping in supply chain? How is it helping? You are a distributor or you're a financier of a bank and you've leased so many vehicles and they are supposed to pay you back and they're not paying. I'm sent a collection agent there and they said, yaar, that particular car is sitting somewhere else in some other garage, doesn't matter. I have OIT to find out where is it. Now when I go close to the car, I just raise my mobile. When I raise a mobile, it's like Pokemon kind of thing. It will all know which car make, what is the outstanding amount balance, how many months he has not paid, what is the NPA in my mobile, just because I have to take that mobile next to it and it can find out. So supply chain is getting strengthened because of all the kind of new technologies which are happening. And just I'm over exceeding 1 more minute. And the last slide that I have is saying that many banks are doing it. Here I can see ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, HSBC, Kotak Mahindra, JP Morgan. Some of these names are international, like JP Morgan, HSBC. Am I saying that all of these technologies are done by all of these banks? No. Some technology, some things are doing some technology, some are not. Some are incrementally doing internationally. Some banks are doing faster than others. But one thing I will tell you, I hope you can see the last slide, which is about this HSBC thing. On the Axis Bank thing, yeah, you can see that in your, yeah, okay, thank you so much. So basically I'm saying that each banks are incrementally trying to do that, and believe me, it is not these large banks like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or HSBC or JP Morgan are making changes. No way, they are not bringing all these technologies. The fintech companies, the smaller companies, they're called boutique shops, 30 people, 20 people, guys, the cats of the engineers and all that. I mean, I call it cat, don't use that word. But what I'm saying, those guys who are really great about it, and those are, and this HSBCs of the world and JP Morgans of the world are running after those people. Hey, do you have a blockchain with you? Hey, do you have AI ML? Can you incorporate? They're actually buying that companies nowadays because they want to show to the customer, hey, we have blockchain, we have AR, we have IoT, everything. So this was my small little session. Thank you so much. But before that, I don't know whether I have a time to basically answer the question. But I'm ready to. So I leave it to Mr. Bala to kind of guide me.
I thanks a lot, Shripad. The floor is open for the question, guys. Yes, we can, because we had such an interesting session, and I know, you can ask question, guys.
If I can't answer the question, the next thing I'm going to do is I will throw the floor open. I'll say the boys will answer, the girls will answer.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a good thing. The teacher in you is also
actually,
coming out.
that
Yeah,
helps. In one of my
Yeah, that
sessions, I
helps.
got a lot of information. Then anyway, let's see what the questions are. Then I'll make a smarter decision. Yeah.
Quick, guys. Any question, guys?
भूख लगी है भाई आपको मेरे को नहीं
you gave me a very good suggestion. Okay, guys are going to go with their fellow students thing out. Yeah. Any question, guys? I think Shripad, you can put the question, the important question.
Okay.
You wanted to ask them a question, huh? So let's find out.
Oh, you want me to ask the question?
Yeah, that's what you want them, just ask them a
No,
question.
no. My suggestion was different. Last time I did a
Yeah.
experiment in my organization. I said, I just want to see who can answer this question, and there were amazing answers which came from people. And the questions
Yes,
are asked by other students actually. So
Yeah, that's true.
भूख लगी है भाई उन लोगों को, you know.
Anyway, guys, if you do not have the question, let me put it out. Shripad Vaidya, thank you, sir. It was a very motivating and extremely informative session. I'm sure that this session has enlightened our students with different aspects of the seminar topic and experience. I'll be very privileged to hear all the three of you. What I'll do is I'll do the vote of thanks immediately. Before I propose my vote of thanks, students, we are going to continue the session after the vote of thanks.